Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The program will begin in 5 minutes. At this time, please move to your seats and help us start on schedule. As a reminder, please silence your electronic devices and leave them on so you can text or email your questions for our guest speakers to the address on the screen, askmetna@gmail.com. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Colonel Mike Warlick, U.S. Marine Corps retired and Vice President of Defense, FCA.
Somebody left their notes up here. I'm going to get rid of them now. Oh, I know that. Last time I was up here, I was smiling. This is extra credit. This was not on the schedule here until just about two or 3 days ago, and I think it's those of you that are here are going to get a lot out of this session. It's going to be a 30-minute session, and I want to thank you right off the bat for finding out about this and coming in to participate. The title of this session is Collaborative Partner Environment, and we've talked about the partner environment most of the week, and we'll continue doing that through Thursday. It's really my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Major Elias Cortabani. He's the Collaborative Partner Engagement Lead in CENTCOM J6. Just a little bit about him before he starts. He's a graduate of the Signal and Basic Advanced course, and he's also been to Command General Staff College. He's been a career signal officer, most recently serving in the 516th Signal Brigade as a cybersecurity manager at Fort Shafter, Hawaii. So let's give him a warm welcome, and let's hear what he has to say today. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Major Cortabani, like Mr. Warlick said, and I'm here to brief the CENTCOM's Collaborative Partner Environment. I'd also like to introduce my two lead engineers that we have and we brought here with us, Mr. Terrell Lockett, who's the lead systems engineer, and Mr. Lance Britton, the lead network engineer. And these guys are here just to back me up in case you guys didn't have any really serious technical questions. Next slide, please. Awesome. So what is our problem statement? At the moment, U.S. CENTCOM requires a network that can support mission partners at the speed of the operation. Signal is never there when it comes to partner nations. They have never, and hopefully now they will. It takes a lot of work when we partner up with all different nationalities, and we have to be able to support the operation the minute the commander says, go. I'd like to direct your attention to the left-hand side diagram. What you see there is the current structure of how CENTCOM's networks are designed. The brown 5 circles up on the top left-hand side are the multilateral networks. These are individual 5 different networks that support more than two partners share data with us. On your right-hand side, you'll see the 7 yellow boxes are the bilateral networks. These are bilateral agreements. We form a network to share data between us and, for example, the Qataris or us and the Saudis and the rest of the Gulf nations. Now, this type of network is what we in DoD have been used to for a while. It's a stovepiped, north-south data flow restricted to just one releasability. So what happens if the CENTCOM commander today says to me, we need a network. What network am I fighting on? And my partners are, I don't know, Germany and Brazil. I don't have a network. None of these networks that we have 12 right now, none of them can support Germany and Brazil with the United States. The releasability is not there, and we have to protect that data. Now, at the moment, we have 12 networks. In the height of the war, we had up to 20. So what's the solution that we keep doing? Every time we need a network, let's create another one. Here we go. Let's engineer it, deploy it, procurement, installation, operation, and maintenance. You're at least 6 months behind and a couple of $1 million in the hole. And we're not even supporting the operation yet. CENTCOM in 2017 partnered up with NSA, Joint Staff J6, and some of our partner nations and conducted joint tests. And these joint tests centered around data centricity. How can we protect the data so we can consolidate all these networks? And that's how CPE came about. I'd also like to highlight in all these bilateral and multilateral networks that we have, they're a full suite of services. Domain controllers, Exchange servers, SharePoint, everything that you need in each individual network separately. So as you can imagine, it's a lot of resources, man hours, licensing, upgrades, life cycle replacement. This all costs should be factored in, and it's just unsustainable. I'd like to direct your attention to the right side of that screen, and what you see is a depiction of what CPE is actually. All of these networks combine into one. There is no multiple networks now. CPE is just one network, one environment that allows us to host all of our partner nations' information and their users under one network, one domain, one exchange, one SharePoint, and we allow policy to allow or deny access to the data. We really care about the data. CPE allows Coalition to operate in one collaborative environment. That was our catchphrase down on the bottom. Next slide, please. All right, so how do we do this? Prior to March 10, 2020, we were not allowed to do this. This was not allowed in DoD. DoD published memorandum, guidance to support rapid, agile sharing of secret releasable information with partner nations on March 10, 2020. And the two key points for this memorandum is, first, clarified that all SecRels are part of the same security domain. And being part of the security domain, you don't need to use a cross-domain solution. Only if you use the alternative security measures, but they never stated what those alternative security measures were. They followed that memorandum by the second memorandum, which is the Threshold Guidance Memo, released on 5 October. And now that memorandum details out exactly what are the alternative security measures that we need to implement in order for us to combine all these networks, not go through a cross-domain, and allow policy to allow or deny access to the data. The third memorandum was from M4, our previous combatant commander, and basically just conveying what US CENTCOM is planning to do to go after MPE with our version of the collaborative partner environment to the Secretary of Defense. And finally, we continue to use the POTUS Executive Order 14,028 to further our efforts in advancing zero trust technology. Next slide, please. Awesome. So how does CPE works? This is a very complicated slide, but not really. I just want to orient you to the slide first, and that way you can follow along. The big outside black circle is your traditional network security. That's your perimeter security. Inside of there, you see that blue guy up in the top. That's a US soldier. And then right below him, you see the green guy. That's a foreign national. It can be any foreign national that is integrated in CENTCOM headquarters. In this case, it's a French national. HMP under it just simply means hosted mission partner. That means our partners in CENTCOM working on CENTCOM computers in our building. And finally, you see on the bottom left hand is the gray circle. That's your GBR, which is British soldier. This network centers around ICAM, Zero Trust, and ABAC. Now, when the US soldier logs in, username and password, and utilizes the RSA token, two-factor authentication, immediately we establish his identity. Now, because this is a SIPA releasable American US network, we can see everything, but not really. We're authorized to see everything, but we got to have the clearance and we got to have the need to know. Even if it's on our own network, if we don't have a need to know, we will not see that data, even though it's releasable to the United States. I'll give you an example. US and Germany conducting some type of a targeting operation. Only really G2 targeting folks need to know about it. I'm a communication signal guy. I don't need to know about it. So my user account will not have that need to know targeting. But the German guy and the other American guy in J2, they will have that. And they are the ones that can see that. So need to know plays a key role in all of this. And like I said, because we're an American and because it's our network, we have the clearance. As long as we have the need to know, you can go straight through. You see those 3 green diamonds going through your front-end SharePoint and retrieving and being able to see what you want to see. The next guy is the green guy, the French national. Now this guy is, again, sitting in CENTCOM. Logs on with his username and password, his RSA token. We establish that identity. Immediately after establishing that identity, the first thing we do is the first intercept, and that's at your network application access. We determine right there what part of the network you're authorized to access, what part of the networks you're not authorized to access. So the part of the network you're not authorized to access, you'll never know about it. You will not know it. You have no clue that it even exists. So we establish that network, allow it to come into that network. All right, this is a SharePoint scenario, so we're using the SharePoint front end. Immediately after that, the user types the URL for the SharePoint and hits go. That request comes to the SharePoint front end. And from there, SharePoint front end has to communicate with the back end. This is exactly where we do our second intercept. Here's where ABAC, attribute-based access control, plays. What we have is when we intercept that, we look at the user's attributes versus the file's attributes. There's over 10 attributes that we collect for users, but the 2 real main ones are clearance and country of affiliation. I want to know that you have the clearance to see this data, or whatever level data it is you're authorized to see, and what country you belong to. Now, from the object side, the documents, we look at classification and releasability. Is it secret? And who's it releasable to? So when a French national hits that SharePoint and that intercept happens, our policy enforcement point compares the attributes of that foreign national to the attributes of those files on that SharePoint page and only displays what's releasable to that foreign national. We can have 1 million documents in there and they're all tagged releasable US 5i, and that French national will not see any of them. We have tested it in lab and on the operational network. They will not have a clue it's there. As you see in the display, the green arrow coming in from the French guy to the SharePoint, you'll see that red diamond, and then you'll see a green diamond. The red diamond simply indicating that that French person is not allowed to see that 5i document, because the orange document is 5i, and the purple document is MESIF. France is part of MESIF, so they get access. I'd like to touch a little point on the objects. So how do we input these attributes in the object without affecting the object? So we use what we call the ICTDF, Intelligence Community Trusted Data Format. What it is, basically, it's a wrapper. We take the actual file, we wrap it, protect the integrity of that file, but also allows us to input attributes in the header of that wrapper. And these attributes, in this case, is classification, releasability, need to know, and there's other different attributes that we can use. We'll take a step back to that French national. You'll see that red diamond at the network application access layer. That red diamond simply indicating that that French national does not have access to the orange legacy mission command system. So legacy mission command systems really are just mission command systems that are not data-centric. I cannot tag that data. Once you log into the system, you see everything. So in this scenario, it is micro-segmented, meaning it's in its own little network at the 5i level. France is not part of 5i, so automatically policy will not even allow them to see that. Again, they won't know it existed. Finally, I'd like to move to the GBR circle. The GBR user that's sitting in London on his or her own computer provided by their government, I guess. they have no access to CENTCOM and its network. But we have, in order to bring this through, we have to pre-coordinate between us and the British. The British tells me what attributes they need for me to pass it to them, and I tell them what attributes I need. And this is all documented under a document, it's called the JMEI. Once we have that agreement, we can go ahead and establish that connection. The British user tries to access our SharePoint. Immediately, their identity provider gathers, based off of what we agreed upon, the attributes that we need, puts them in that SAML assertion, the dotted lines that you see coming across, and brings it into our identity, provides it to our identity provider. Now, and in this case, our identity provider is the F5. Passes it to our F5. Our F5 looks at three things when we get that. The first thing, is it from a trusted route? Again, this is part of the pre-planning. We already know what route they're coming from. Is this from the network IP space that we are expecting them to come from? And do they have a need to know? If these three things match, that British user will have access to come in to that legacy mission command system in this diagram, or SharePoint that is, and view the application or the files. Now again, this is all based off the three things that we agreed upon. All right, so there's a couple of other things I want to touch on. I've only spoken about SharePoint. We have also Skype. The instance of Skype that we have it uses ABAC, and we can allow for the users to either view or not view the chats that are pre-created. So if you don't have access to it, I can still let you see the title of it, or I can hide that. You'll only see the chat that you're authorized to see. And the other thing is, if you double-click on a chat room that you're not authorized to be in, not a problem. Message pops up, tells you you're not authorized. You don't have the clearance. You don't have the classification. You don't have the releasability for this. The other thing is Exchange. Now, I like what we do with Exchange because it did not provide that, and it did not provide that in our current structure, network-centric type structure. With the Exchange, we look at the releasability of the actual email and the releasability of the actual file that you're attaching. If they don't match, not a problem, because when you hit send, it's only going to go to the most restrictive. I'll give you an example. I'm sending an email to France 5i. I tag the email as France 5i, but the attachment is only releasable to 5i. When I hit send, France users will never get it. It automatically enforces its policy. Everybody in 5i gets it. The French users don't get it. And plus, on top of that, what makes it even better, when you do that kind of mistakes, within a minute, you'll get two emails. First email telling you what users did not get this email, and the second email telling you why they did not get it. In the current structure that we have, where emails have to travel through the cross-domain solution, it's fire and pray is what I call it. It takes 4 to 8 hours, and you never know if they got it or not. I believe oh, no, I missed one. My apologies. And this is extremely important. Sweden and Finland are applying to join NATO. Let's say we have this partner network. What do we do when if and when they join NATO? What happens if there's a restriction? They're allowed to see NATO documents from the date they join NATO. Anything before that, they're not allowed. Nobody has that capability. We are the only network. We have the only network in CENTCOM that can do that. We can set it by policy, define what NATO is before a certain date, and define it after a certain date. And Finland and Sweden will never see any document created before they joined NATO. But they will see everything they did after NATO, after joining NATO. We actually are doing that for Israel right now. When Israel joined MESIF, everything before the day they joined, they can't see it. We already tested it. We know it works. And again, this is the only partner nation network that can provide all of this. Now, I understand some people are like, oh, why'd you use SharePoint, Skype, Exchange, Outlook? So we looked at what are the most common used services or applications in that. So for example, in the US and with our partner nations, Microsoft Outlook is most utilized. So we went with Outlook. And same thing with SharePoint and Skype. But we're not locked in. If we determine there's a newer technology in the future that can better suit our warfighter, we're definitely up for it. This network is not designed for the SIX community. I love the SIX community, but this network is designed for the operations community. I want their input. I want them to test it out and tell me where I can fix. Thank you very much. Next slide, please. Questions? We're definitely here. I brought the subject matter experts in case there's a topic or details I'm not able to answer. Yes, sir.
I'm an exchange officer here.
Sure.
Military with Oxford, and you'll appreciate I have a few issues with regards to access on systems, classified systems that complete across cohorts here who are exchange or liaison officers. Is there any intention for this to roll out wider and outside of?
Oh, you got it. Excellent question. So at the moment, we are actually conducting testing between us and the UK. I didn't brief it, actually. If we go to almost the last slide, I have that slide in there, but it wasn't part of the brief. Go back one. And we are conducting these tests. We are going to establish a connection by the end of September between us and the CDE, the UK's version of the Secret Releasable Network. Router-to-router connection, and then we're going to federate. And then, oh, they're not displayed. Then what we're going to do is reach into the CDE and see if we can authenticate and access the data. So as you see down here, over at the CDE UK side, that C2IE cylinder, that's your mission command system. That is a data-centric application. What we're going to do is we're going to, from a US user from CPE, reach into the UK's network and see if we can see what we are authorized to see and give them feedback. And they're going to do the same thing. And we're also going to federate our XMPP chat. We're going to go ahead and connect and see if we can chat with each other. This is all part of the testing. It's been going on for a while now. And we continue to reform this. Go back one slide, please. Here's another thing. Remember I said I want the input from the warfighter. In the middle, you see that gray circle. That's the CPE over at CENTCOM headquarters. Right below that, that small circle, is a CPE at the UK. We are actually deploying a JCSE node to the UK, and British soldiers will work on this, connect into CPE back to CENTCOM, and collaborate on our SharePoint in CENTCOM headquarters. The other thing we're going to do is the two yellow networks are the France 5i networks, and we're actually pushing assemblages again to France, to Paris, and to Ontario. Yep. And they're going to also reach in through the France 5i network into CPE and collaborate. We want targeting folks to go ahead and execute what they would normally execute in a real operation in CPE and give me feedback. Tell me where I can improve. And that is our main goal.
Are you testing with UK right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's
That connection is going to stay permanent. It's not going down. It's a permanent connection.
Hey, sir, can you remind them of the JADC2?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Our work, when we started, we were not looking to be aligned with JADC2. I don't even believe JADC2 started at that time.
It was that.
And we were not looking at zero trust either. Our main goal was just to be ABAC capable. It just happened to be that with all the advances in technology and everything we wanted to bring in, it just happened that to be lined up with JADC2 and MPE. Matter of fact, we are the pathfinder for JADC2 LOE 1, 2, 3, and 5, and we're the pathfinder for MPE. Everything we do in CENTCOM gets passed to the MPCO office to assist them with developing their MPE solution. Yes, sir.
Can you describe currently in CENTCOM CPE environment what mission command applications actually are hosted and operational in that environment besides email, SharePoint, Skype, and Google?
So at the moment, we already worked with our contract counterparts with C2IE. If you see on the next slide, we will have an instance of C2IE deployed inside of CPE, which is ABAC capable. And that will be our first mission command system in the CPE environment. At the moment, it's not. We just software upgrades, et cetera. But as soon as we complete that, it will be the actual live mission command system, sir. We're also looking at FMV. Go ahead.
Roger that, sir. Where we are at CENTCOM and CPE at this time, we have a phased approach to implementation, three-phased approach. We're on phase 1. We have a major exercise, like Major Cordovani said, with IL-23 at the end of this year. Post that exercise, our next phase is onboarding internal users, making all those external 12 user bases to internal users so they can start realizing some of the gains, major gains that we have. From there, it's the actual projected collapse of those networks and integration of those networks, along with focus on mission apps. Right now in CENTCOM, what we do, we're changing our acquisition process. We're changing our messaging and marketing when we're talking to these legacy mission command systems and the ones that we're trying to onboard right now. We're letting them know, hey, we need things that are ABAC capable, RESTful API capable. Also, we're trying to, in our questioning, when we do our RFQs, we have probably about 10 questions that let us know where they sit in that onboarding process for us. And we give them the guidance to let them know what it takes to be zero trust in our environment. Over.
Matter of fact, AFATADS, PM, POR office came back, already said the next version of AFATADS will be ABAC capable. So hopefully, as the time moves and everybody realizes this is the way forward, they update all their mission command systems. And as they update them, we'll take them out of being micro-segmented and put them in the actual CPE so they can do ABAC and provide services. Yes, sir? Yes, sir. Yes, definitely.
One alibi to that, sir, is the chat. I know right now Skype is not FMN compliant. We are working in this IL-23 effort with an XMPP compliant chat.
Yes.
So that's the only part that we lack in FM compliance.
So on Thursday,
Go ahead, sir.
mid-afternoon, actually mid-morning, right before the final keynote, there is an all-domain command and control session. If you're going to be here, then that might be good for you to attend. That might carry over to some of the discussions now. What are you partnering with industry for this test? So can you talk about it?
Yes, sir. So we worked with NextLabs, we worked with Virtru, and actually we assisted them in engineering the product that we wanted. They came in with a product, it partially met our needs, but not fully, and we guided them and assisted in developing that. And yes, and we're always open for industries come to us with ideas, definitely. Yes, sir. Does it require? So it's a normal Active Directory structure. Red Forest, one of your domains is for your administrators, and the other one's for the users. So there is a couple of applications that we use in order for this to work. And yes, you will definitely need access from a administrative perspective. It's not that complicated. The complicated part is done by the engineers. From a help desk perspective, it's extremely easy. Go ahead, Terrell.
Yes, sir. What we did before we started this project, we were looking to that multilateral network that he spoke about before. We were looking to harden that network. We got with industry, Microsoft, VMware, and McAfee, and we tried to figure out what it took to harden that. We came up with 10 different elements. That's two-factor authentication, root CA with HSM. It has a whole bunch of things. Least privilege, Bastion Red Forest concept, they call it ESAE. JITA, just-in-time administration. It goes to your God level comment. So yes, that policy engine becomes a big deal because it's controlling policies for multiple applications, but that is a checked out and verified and audited thing. So we have advanced auditing, advanced dashboards to capture this activity. When users create documents with ICTDF, and these documents are created and encapsulated, encoded, or encrypted, at the point of encoding, encrypting, opening, viewing, editing, all that's captured on the dashboard where you can see what that user activity is doing. One other add-on to that, we have our foreign mission partners here. We work ICTDF standard heavily, but we also are working with the Great Britain and other NATO members to do STANAC 4774, 4778. During this IL-23 test, we will do some interoperability between the two standards. We have tested that in the past with great success. We just want to continue that effort. Oh.
Take it a step further every time.
Sir, I'm sorry, did you have more of a question with the mission command systems?
Yeah, I kind of forgot to follow up.
Oh, sorry.
I did have a question. In the example that you showed with your UK subscriber,
Yes.
you talked about putting a JCSE node out there. Can you talk? I'm a little bit missing where the physical network, the logical transition occurs, how the security of that is managed, and then if you take it one step further from an individual user, and could you talk about a unit that would deploy into CENTCOM AOR and how they leverage this?
Can you go back several slides? Keep going. The big circle slide.
Slide 4.
Yeah, slide 4. There we go. One more. One more. There you go. So part of it is, you see that dotted assertion line?
Yeah.
So when that connection is made, that right there gets geo-locked. So from a security perspective, nothing can traverse that unless it is US and British releasable.
So that's a new physical connection from the UK network
Yes.
router to US?
Yes, so we have router to router and then KG to KG. Definitely.
And sir, to add on to that,
And that's, so that's our partner's coalition environment.
Yes.
Their UK secret environment.
It's a secret releasable network.
Their secret release
Yes.
equivalent to our.
Yes. And that is a connection that we make, and it's not going down. That's staying up.
And that was our final question from Major Cordovani. Please welcome Mike Warlick back to the stage.
okay, good, let him go. Good deal.
Everybody here now knows what nobody else knows at this conference. I'm sure Major Cordovani and his team will stick around for questions, and I'd like you to do that. We have a keynote at 1300, 1 o'clock in here by General Brunson. That's going to be a virtual session, but it's going to be a live virtual session. Look forward to seeing you then. I just came back from a classified session that we set up. It went very successfully. I'd like to see that expanded next year, get our European friends in there too. So we'll be looking at how we can do that next year. But anyhow, thank you for this presentation. Soon to be, actually is, but not promoted yet, Jeff Ray contacted us last week and said, hey, I want you to have this session. It's too important to miss. And for those of you here, you got the importance of it. Please continue the dialogue, and we'll see you at 1300, 1 o'clock.